Hey guys, and good evening, and welcome to welcome to my healthy kitchen. I hope you're well. I hope you're safe wherever you are in the world. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. It is tonight. It's about 7 p.m. here in Sydney, and tonight's cooking class we're going to be talking a little bit about quinoa. Now, if you've never used quinoa before, if you've ever wondered what it was, this is the class for you. We're going to be talking a bit about quinoa. We're going to be discussing its health benefits as well. And then I'll be teaching you guys how to make a really delicious, really fragrant quinoa style fried rice. So instead of, normally fried rice with white rice, we are going to be using quinoa. Why are we using quinoa? Because it's so incredibly good for our bodies. So it is going to be a wonderful class tonight, and all week here in Bridget's Healthy Kitchen we are talking about quinoa. And the reason why we're talking about quinoa, as I said, really good for us, but the other reason why is that we have been, over the last couple of weeks, I've been really highly suggestive when it comes to incorporating more plants into your diet. And of course, quinoa is a plant. Of course it is. It is actually not a grain, even though it kind of looks like one. Here, I've got some quinoa here. It is actually the seed of a grain, and it is the seeds that we eat. So it's known as a pseudo grain. You don't have to remember any of that, but basically it is a seed. It is 100% gluten-free, which is fabulous. But one of the reasons why I really like quinoa is a little goes a long way. Very similar to white rice, a little goes a long way, which is really good. But one of the things I love about it is it's really high in protein. And as you know, protein is the building blocks of our muscles. So if you are someone who likes to work out, if you're someone who likes to vigorously exercise, or even if you're just looking to, start to get more protein into your diet, quinoa is a really good way to do it. So it's high in protein. It's also got a really good fiber content as well, so it'll help things to move through your digestion nice and easy, which is great. But one of the really fabulous things about quinoa, it has all of the 9 essential amino acids in this one little seed. So it is nutritionally packed, nutritionally dense is what we like to call it. And it's got not much flavor, but packs a punch when it comes to nutrition, which is wonderful. And if you kind of think about it, rice doesn't really pack much of a flavor either. It's what you put with it that makes it really delicious, and that's how I like to treat quinoa. The other good thing about quinoa, you'll be happy to know, is it is a low glycemic food, which means it won't spike your insulin, it won't raise your blood glucose, so it's really good for diabetics, really good for people watching their weight. And you know what? It's pretty easy to prepare. So firstly, let's just talk about how you prepare quinoa before we go into our fried rice. Because all the recipes that I'm going to be sharing with you guys this week, and I shared one yesterday, if you did not see, last night as we broke our 48-hour fast, I shared with you guys my quinoa ganache cookies. If you ask really nicely, Mahi might share the link. They are delicious. They are little chocolate cookies, nice and chewy, with a wonderful chocolate ganache on top. And yes, they are made with quinoa, with cooked quinoa. So all these recipes that I'm sharing with you guys tonight, this week, are using cooked quinoa. So how do you cook quinoa? Really simple to do. When you take your quinoa, your raw quinoa, remember a little goes a long way. So say for instance, for this recipe here, it requires 4 cups of cooked quinoa, which is around about one and a half cups of raw. So this will make a significant amount of quinoa. And what you do is you treat it very similar to potatoes. Unlike rice, which uses the absorption method, which means like you put the rice into the water and the rice basically sucks up all the water and there's no water left. With quinoa, you treat it like you're cooking potatoes. And as you know with potatoes, you put your raw potatoes into a big pot of water, and then you let them boil away until they're soft. Exactly the same thing with quinoa. So if you are cooking 2 cups of raw quinoa, you want it to be in around about 3 to 4 liters of water. The exact amount doesn't really matter, but just remember, you treat it like you're cooking potatoes. It's not the absorption method like rice. You are actually boiling away in lots of water until it gets soft. So what you do is first you take your raw quinoa. It can either come, this is just like a white quinoa. You can also get a tri-colored one, so there's little brown ones or black ones. It's all the same. Don't worry, there's no nutritional difference between white quinoa or darker colored quinoas. It's just what you can buy, so don't worry about that. So take your raw quinoa and just rinse it under cold water and then let it drain. You're just making sure there's no, foreign debris that might be attached to it. And then you pop your quinoa into a big pot. Like I said, just go through it with the water like you're boiling potatoes. 3 to 4 liters of water with 1 or 2 cups of quinoa, and you bring it to the boil, and then you allow it to cook for between 18 to 20 minutes until it's tender to the bite. So like pasta, that's how you test pastas al dente, you bite it and it's tender. You do exactly the same thing with quinoa. So after, set your alarm for 18 minutes once it comes to the boil, and then obviously, test it with a little spoon. And if it's still cooked through but still tender to the bite, what you then do is you drain all the water off it. I'll show you in a colander like this. You can see there, that was like 2 cups of raw quinoa. Look how much you get. That's why I had to make all these recipes. I was like, what am I going to do with all this cooked quinoa? So you get lots. So you drain it in the colander. You don't need to rinse it under cold water or anything like that. Just drain the water from it. And then you allow it to cool naturally. And after about 5 minutes after you've drained the water from it, just take a spoon or a fork and kind of fluff it up. Just kind of do this type of action. Just fluff it up like that. And then what you are doing when you're fluffing it up is you're releasing the steam so it doesn't overcook. And what you're after, the texture that you're after once it's done, is still a little bit chewy, but definitely not hard. So remember, you're looking for that 18 to 20 minutes once the water comes to the boil. 18 to 20 minutes, let it cook, taste it once it's finished, just check it like you'd be checking pasta, that it's cooked through, then you drain it in your colander, let it sit there in the colander, fluff it up with a spoon or a fork a couple of minutes after you've drained it, and then your quinoa is basically ready. So just let it cool. And of course, this lasts in the fridge for 3 to 4 days in a covered container, so you can make lots in advance and then use it in different recipes, which is really exciting, and which is what I'm hoping you're going to do for this entire week, because you need to make cookies, right? I'm also going to teach you guys how to make quinoa, raw quinoa balls as well. Not raw quinoa, but they're raw balls as well, like little protein balls as well. So it's very exciting. So that's how you cook your quinoa. As I said, covered container in your fridge. That's going to last you for 4 to 5 days in your fridge covered. It's such a versatile grain seed, as you guys are going to be finding out as we go along. All right, so let's get into the recipe. Enough talking. We are making a quinoa fried rice, as I was saying. So taking that cooked quinoa and then turning it into a delicious, fragrant fried rice. I'm going to be doing a vegetarian one. You, of course, could add chicken or lamb or beef or whatever you want, or tofu, completely up to you. I'm doing a purely vegetarian one tonight, but of course you could add meat as well. So come on down to my bench. Let's get into it. So the first thing that we need to think about doing is creating a little bit of fragrance in our pan. So I have got my pan on here. I've already sort of started, chopping through my vegetables, which is great, and we'll talk about those in a little second. But you want to sort of create a little bit of a fragrance here, because we're going to be cooking all our vegetables in whatever the fragrance is that we put in here. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm turning on my cooktop to about medium heat. I'm going to be adding into it about half a tablespoon. Where's my tablespoon? There it is. Half a tablespoon of coconut oil. You could also use ghee if you want as well, if you want to have that little taste of butter. And as you know, ghee is lactose free for anyone who's lactose intolerant. But I'm making a plant-based one, so I'm using coconut oil tonight. So half a tablespoon of our coconut oil goes in there. Along with that, I'm going to also be adding in a tablespoon of my sticky sauce. So Bridget's sticky sauce is going into there as well, which is going to help just to give it everything so much awesome flavor, which is what you want. So into that, I've got some spices that I'm going to be adding in, and they may be spices that you potentially don't necessarily expect to be with the style of almost like a fried rice, because we're kind of doing a biryani style cooked rice. So the spices that I'm using today, I'm using cloves, I'm using cinnamon, I know, crazy, right? I'm using cardamom as well. This is going to be such a wonderfully fragrant, oh my gosh, already just the smell of the oil and sticky is so delicious. This is going to be so fragrant. All right, so into our bubbling little oil and sticky, we're going to be adding in half a teaspoon of brown cloves. We're also going to be putting in a teaspoon of ground cardamom going in there as well. I love cardamom. I just think it's definitely one of my favorite spices. It's just fabulous, so nuanced. And a heaped teaspoon of cinnamon is going in there as well. As well as that, I've got a couple of these cool looking spices. That's star anise, so 2 star anise going in there. And why not a couple of bay leaves. Now when it comes to the bay leaves and the star anise, all I do suggest is that you take it out before you serve it, because you can't eat them, they're there to flavour, right? You can't eat them. So make sure you take it out before before you serve the dish. So there's this bit of a nice smell coming off there. I'm just going to turn this down to low and let it kind of just tick away there. You don't have it on high, have it on nice and low, because you don't want these spices to burn. That would be a disaster. So have it on nice and low. Just let it tick over very, very gently. While that is ticking over, I'm going to introduce you to the vegetables that are going to be going into our quinoa fried rice. And they are pretty fabulous. So it's up to you what vegetables you use. This is the other wonderful thing about this fried rice. Your quinoa is a vehicle for whatever you decide to put with it. All you need to make sure is that you're going to be adding about 3 cups of diced vegetables to this pan here. It's up to you what vegetables you use. I'll show you what I've got on my little plate here. So onion is probably one that you definitely want to go with. I'll show you in a second why. I've also got some diced fennel. That's that white one there. I have some asparagus as well. I also have some zucchini. That's just a little bit of sliced zucchini. And tomatoes is another one that you definitely want to have as well. So in total, I've got around about 3 to 4 cups. You know, the more vegetables, let's be honest, the more vegetables, the better. I've got about 3 to 4 cups of diced, and they're bite-sized little dice of our vegetables. But you could add broccoli, you could add cauliflower, you could add snow peas. You could add, eggplant. I mean, it's really up to you what vegetables you choose. Now, I just want to show you guys this. It's just the slice, or the dice. The main thing is when it comes to the vegetables is that you're creating a vegetable size that is consistent no matter what vegetable it is that you are using. So all of the vegetables, whether they be asparagus, whether they be zucchini, they're all chopped into the same size, because if they're chopped into the same size, they're going to cook nice and evenly. So it's just important that you, when you are dicing whatever vegetables you choose, is that you dice them all the same size. So the other thing that you can add if you want to, up to you know what that is, it's a little green chili. If you do add chili, I've just cut it down the middle, taken off the top. I would suggest that you remove the seeds, because that's where a lot of the heat comes from. So remove the seeds, and we'll just say goodbye to the seeds. We don't need the seeds in this one. Remove the seeds. And then with our chili, our green chili, just roughly chop it through. You want to create quite small pieces. If you don't like chili, don't add it. It's as simple as that. I'll leave that completely and up to you. But if you do want to add it, you could add 1 to 2 of these fresh green chilies. Would be delicious, absolutely delicious through this rice. Right, that goes there. So I said that we're going to be adding onion. This is definitely a must. You definitely need to have onion. And when it comes to the onion, all you want to do with the onion is just thinly slice it. And we're not doing a dice with this because one of the things about onion is that when it cooks, it goes lovely and soft, but it's still, you know, it doesn't lose any of its deliciousness, as opposed to, when you overcook a zucchini, it can kind of get a bit watery. Onion doesn't have that, so we can have our slices of onion. I'll set them to the side. So back over to here, I'm just going to turn this on. Once again, we're still on very, very low, very, very low. And then I'm going to take some ginger, more aromatics, and some garlic, and we're going to add it straight into our pan. So we're doing a tablespoon of finely chopped garlic and a tablespoon of, oh, it's so gorgeous, this stuff. I just think yogi tea. Every time I see my ginger, I'm like, yes. All right, tablespoon of ginger as well. Don't be shy when it comes to these two. They really are going to help the flavor of this dish really shine through. Now, you want to cook your your ginger and your garlic on about a medium heat. And you just want to cook them just for about 30 seconds, just to get them nice and fragrant. Obviously, you can see that I'm stirring. I don't want to say frantically, but I'm making sure that things don't get burnt. And it is quite vital, you know, when you do stick in your chopped ginger or your chopped garlic, that you really spend time over your pan, because you don't want it to burn, because then you're going to have to start again, because it will taste really funny, really rancid. So, you know, spend a bit of time doing this sort of thing, breaking it all up. You know, 30 seconds to a minute of the stir frying. Firstly, what you're doing is you're evaporating the water from the ginger and the garlic, the naturally occurring water. And when you evaporate the water, you concentrate the flavors, which is really, really important. So 30 seconds to a minute, give it a good stir fry. It's now the color of those wonderful spices that we've got in there. So now is the time that we're going to be adding in only 3/4 of the onion. Leave a little bit of onion to go in with the vegetables later. So 3/4 of the onion goes in there. Give it a bit of a stir again. And with that 3/4 of an onion, nice sprinkling of salt. The salt is there to help break the onions down. So a bit of a sprinkling of some mineral salt goes in there, and that's going to help the onions to do what you need them to do, which is to break down, begin to cook a little bit. Not too much, because we've got more cooking to come. Just let them cook a little bit. Feel that already. I wish you guys were here. The smell, what I am experiencing here, it is incredibly aromatic. And we have even more aromatics to add. This is just fabulous. Right, give it a bit of a toss. What you're looking for when it comes to this process with the onions is you're waiting for them to break down a little bit. And go almost a little bit soft, a little bit translucent is kind of the look that you're after. And that will potentially take, oh, there's a mosquito in here. Oh, no, got it. Oh, 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 oh. I need something. I killed the mozzie. 1 second. I need a paper towel. It's on the bench. I don't normally get them in one go. Get off you. There we go. Mozzie gone. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. Alright, onions are looking good. That's the main thing, isn't it? Onions are looking fabulous. Alright. So when they start to cook down a little bit, they've gone a little bit soft, they've gone a little bit translucent. Now it's time to add in your tomatoes. We're going to be adding a couple of tomatoes, small tomatoes, just chop them. I'm adding cherries, but you could just add normal tomatoes, chopped into pieces. It's about a handful, which is a couple of small tomatoes chopped through. Add those in. Medium heat. It starts to look a little bit dark. Just turn that heat down. Don't worry, just turn that heat down. We're allowing those tomatoes to break down. Let the smell, the smell. It is fabulous. And once you're sort of at this point in time, get back in there, Bailey. Once you're at this point in time, when you've got the tomatoes in there, they're beginning to get a bit mushy, they're beginning to break down, those onions are turning lovely and translucent, and they're beginning to soften up and kind of, like surrender to the heat. which is what you're looking for as well, it is now time to think about adding in our vegetables. So if you're just going straight vegetables like I am, you would throw those in now. If you are adding meat, and I suggest you're adding, for this recipe serves about 4 to 5 people, you probably want to look at adding 200 to 300 grams of diced meat, whatever that meat is, chicken, lamb, beef. This is when you would add it right now. You'd add it in right now, and you'd probably give it a good 5 minutes of stirring and cooking so it gets all lovely and fragrant with everything that you've already got going on here in the pan. Obviously you'll get a bit of that natural fat coming out of whatever it is you've added, so it'll be quite fabulous. So this is the part that you would add it. But because I'm not adding meat, I'm going to go straight to my chopped vegetables, and I'm going to go all in, including the chili that's there as well. So chili goes in, the zucchini goes in, the rest of the onion goes in, asparagus, and of course the fennel. It all goes into my pan. We stir. We allow the flavours of that base that we've got in there, and of all those, that really kind of cooked through onion is now, introducing itself to the rest of the vegetables. They're saying hi. This is their moment to shine. They're saying hi. Wonderful. And now I'm potentially going to introduce you to something that you wouldn't think you'd ever put anywhere near vegetables. But trust me, it is phenomenal. So, as your vegetables are kind of stirred through, pardon me, as they are stirred through, and they're beginning to cook down, everything's done on medium, and someone just asked, would tofu work here? There's a big thumbs up for tofu. In fact, I've got some tofu in my fridge. When it comes to tofu, you would add it the same time as vegetables, but make sure it's a really firm tofu because the soft one will just break up. So go for the extra firm tofu on this. The tofu would be divine, absolutely divine. All right, so now that we're at this point, things are starting to happen. I'm going to be adding some rose water. So rose water is basically roses distilled in water, and very popular aromatic. Oh goodness me, it smells so amazing. Really popular aromatic, maybe one that you wouldn't think that you would add into a dish like this. Trust me, this is incredible. You want to add sort of 2 to 4 tablespoons of the rose water. Now goes in. I told you this was going to be fragrant. I did warn you in advance. It is, the smell, please. It is so good. That wonderful smell from that rose water that is now just smacking me in the nose is quite phenomenal. And it's unexpected, isn't it? A little bit unexpected, but so worth it. If you're wondering where you get rose water from, some supermarkets sell it, some good supermarkets, but I picked this up. Where did I pick this up? I actually can't remember now, but I know some supermarkets definitely do sell it. I would suggest you Google rose water. It is so beautiful. It is worth having. Like seriously, it is just, it's intoxicating. Absolutely intoxicating. So now when it comes to, you've added your rose water, you can smell it, it's hitting your face. Your vegetables are just kind of beginning to stew a little bit, which is fantastic. Ideally what you're after here is around about 3 to 4 minutes of the vegetables cooking in the rose water, and they're getting a really good flavor now. You could also, if you wanted to, add a pinch of pepper. You could add a little bit more salt at this time if you wanted to as well. And you're just kind of allowing those vegetables to cook through a little bit. You're allowing the spices that you had already placed in here, to really get friendly with those vegetables. And of course you're allowing that rose water, the stuff here, to do its work as well. Just makes so much fragrance here. And the reason why I'm going for big flavors when it comes to this dish is because quinoa is boring on its own. Let's be honest. I'm sorry, quinoa. I am, but you are boring. No one's going to eat you on your own. You need to do something, right? So hence why I'm trying to add as many wonderful flavors into here as possible because this is boring. It's really good for you, but on its own, let's be honest, it's kind of boring. So, you know, having that rose water, having all that garlic and that ginger and those spices is really going to help to give us wonderful flavor when it comes to adding our quinoa to our dish. So I'm kind of happy now with where we're going with this. It's like smells like heaven. All we need to do now is to add in our quinoa. So I would normally add into this amount of vegetables, you know, three to 4 cups of vegetables. I would add about, say, 4 cups of cooked quinoa, which is 4 cups is different from raw, as we talked about at the beginning of this class. So you want to add about 4 cups of cooked quinoa into here. I just might as well add, yeah, I'll add it all. There we go. Not going to be shy. All the quinoa is now in there. So I'm going to add one more flavor explosion. Now what I have in here, can you see? Oh, you can't see. Can you see? You guys all know what that is, right? That is saffron. And this is saffron that was given to me. This is Spanish saffron. This was given to me by the most beautiful lady that I met. I did a class last year or the year before. Oh my gosh, 2 years ago I did a class, a healthy cooking class in the Netherlands, in Holland. And this amazing woman came all the way from Spain to the Netherlands to attend my cooking class, and she brought with her, as a little gift for me, this wonderful little bottle of saffron. I have since used all the saffron she's given me, but I've kept the bottle, and every time I get new saffron, I always add it to this gorgeous little jar that she gave me because it reminds me of her. Every single time I pick this up, it just reminds me of her. So when it comes to the saffron, what you want to do is you want to take about 5 strands of saffron, 5 strands, and you want to soak those 5 strands in about 1/4 cup, which is about 60 mils of water. And I actually use hot water, and you want to soak them for about 10 minutes, and what you're going to be left with is that wonderful yellow color, which is what we want. So we're going to be adding all that after it's soaked. We're going to be adding the saffron liquid, and of course my saffron, don't want to waste any of it, to our rice. And now let's just get it all mixed through. The flavors. Oh, I honestly can't wait to eat this. It smells, oh, remember that? Take the bay leaf out when you see it. Non-edible, only there for flavor. So when you see the bay, we've got 2 bay leaves, we've got 2 star anise in there. Just keep a watchful eye when you're doing the stirring at this point, because ideally you don't want to serve the bay leaves or the star anise. They don't taste good at all. Okay, someone asked me, do you blend your garlic and your ginger with water or oil? No, I don't. With my ginger, I just blend it, just like that. But with my garlic, I do put a little bit of oil on it afterwards, just so it doesn't oxidize, like about a tablespoon of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil in this entire jar, just helps so that my garlic doesn't go green. All right, guys, this is looking so good. So good. Okay, I'm going to put it on a really low heat now. And just kind of let it tick away. And let the flavors do its thing. And while that happens, I want to teach you the accompaniment. The most delicious accompaniment for your quinoa fried rice. You've got to do this, right? Take about 200 grams of coconut yogurt, which is around about a cup. So 200 grams, which is 7 ounces. 7 ounces. 7 ounces of coconut yogurt, unsweetened of course. To that coconut yogurt, you want to add in the juice of half a lemon, goes in there. You also want to add in a good generous pinch of salt. This is like making a Raita. A little bit of a stir. As well as that, about half a teaspoon of cumin powder. Goes in there as well. Give it a bit of a stir. Trust me, this is so incredible with this dish. You've got to do this. This is amazing. And then I'm just going to take up I've just got a little baby cucumber, a little Lebanese cucumber that I'm just going to quickly dice, and that is going to go into our Raita. The crunch of the cucumber, the creaminess of the yogurt, can you just, you know, it is, oh, it's really good. Just a bit of a dice of our cucumber. You could probably, in that amount of yogurt, you could probably add a couple of cucumbers so you can really make it stretch out. Yes, I've got a question, Mahi.
You're going to do garlic and ginger with water?
Ah, we've discussed this.
Oh.
Yes, I know.
My bad.
Yeah. The question was, do I do my ginger and garlic with water or with oil? And the answer was, I do my garlic with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, just so it doesn't oxidize and go green. And I do my ginger just on its own. Alright, so give this a bit of a mix. Seriously, seriously, seriously. Amazing. Like, give a bit of a taste too. I can't not. Oh my god. I think I'll just eat that on its own. That's so delicious. Wow. Oh, yum. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Alright, last step. I know it's been a bit of a process, but it's so worth it. It is so worth it. You know, I'm doing this on this low heat. What's happening now is all the flavors just continue to introduce themselves to each other in this pan. So on this low heat, I still smell the rose water. I now have about a handful of fresh herbs. I have mint and I have coriander. They are definitely my favorite when it comes to this dish. And you just want to take them all up and roughly chop them through and get them into, you know, it doesn't have to be fine, it just has to be roughly chopped through. They go in to the dish, give them that last little bit of a stir. I'm almost going for a fold now. Now that I've got my herbs in there, I'm turning it off because we don't want it to continue to cook because our herbs will suffer. They're not herbs that stand up really by the heat, they're herbs that you add ideally just before you serve. So hence why I've now turned this off. I've just done this lovely slow fold in here. Let's get a bowl. Oh, look at that gorgeous bowl. That just happened to be down there. Fancy that. Not set up at all. No. And then we just serve our quinoa fried rice. Oh my gosh. The flavors. The flavors are phenomenal. Oh, the smells. I wish you guys, I honestly wish you were here. Alright, a little bit of this as well. The creaminess, that wonderful texture, and also I love that interplay of hot and cold. This is why this works so well. There's a real interplay with the cold yogurt and the cold cucumber and then the hot quinoa and the hot vegetables. And what you have left, come this way. What you have left is literally the most delicious dish. It is wonderful. I'm not allowed to eat. I'm not currently fasting. So I'm going to try. Get a clean spoon. Bit of that vegetable, bit of that quinoa on its own first. Wow. All those wonderful flavors just really shine through. And now, with the yogurt, amazing. That cucumber yogurt elevates this dish like you would not believe. It's really, really good. I'm gonna have one more bite. It's fantastic. There you have. I'm looking around going, what are the people that are going to try and steal this off me? There you have a most fabulous dish. So incredibly versatile. Think about this. All the different vegetables that you could possibly use. You know, by all means, add tofu, add chicken, add beef, add lamb, add prawns. You know, you could add so many things to this and create yourself the most wonderful meal. And of course, all of that includes the fact that you are adding the most healthy, seed to your diet. So you're looking after your gut health, it's adding protein, it's adding fiber, 9 essential amino acids. I mean, you couldn't really ask for anything more, to be quite honest. It is really delicious too, and it's just so many things that you can do with it. So I hope you've enjoyed today's class. Make sure that if you haven't already, download my quinoa ganache cookie recipe. It's really good, and all you need is cooked quinoa. It's really, really good. I've got more quinoa recipes to share with you guys. Have fun with this. Make it your own. Create it as you would like to have it. And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope to see you again back in here in Bridget's Healthy Kitchen. We've got more quinoa recipes to come up for you guys. All right, everyone, take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Stay safe wherever you are, and we'll see you back here in Bridget's Healthy Kitchen. Bye.